not confuse great story with great player. So Brock Purdy being the last guy taken in a draft and getting to a Super Bowl, that's a Disney movie. Don't hand him a great contract because he's a great story. And last year, Christian McCaffrey gets dinged up. Brandon Ayuk is out. Trent Williams is hurt. Little ice on the road, and his car was spinning out of control. Suddenly he had 12 picks, fourth in the league. So last year against playoff teams, 1-6. 1-6. 9 touchdowns, 10 picks, 18.9 points a game. So, again, Dak Prescott was a great story. He got a great contract, and Dallas has been irrelevant since. I like Brock Purdy. But, again, the minute there was a little ice on the road, can you drive in bad weather? Can you drive on icy roads? Because that's what November, December, January football is in the NFL. I would give him a contract. I think he's a good kid. I think his superpower, J-Mac talked about this yesterday, I think above the shoulders, the kid is really quick. I think cognitively, he's a really bright kid, and he gets it really quick. But listen, Andy Reid and Mahomes, once they paid Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and Mahomes have struggled the last 2 years to score points. Okay? That's what happens when you pay the quarterback. You're going to have to make big-time decisions. And I'll just throw this out there. The NFC West. So who's your biggest rival if you're the Niners, J-Mac? It's the Rams. Okay, the Rams defense is good, bordering on excellent, young, and getting better. Seattle and Arizona, with defensive coaches, both their defenses moved up dramatically last year. Arizona was bottom of the league. Now they're middle of the pack. So look, my take is the NFC West has become a very good defensive division. And if the Rams are your rival, and we know Brock Purdy's not Stafford the talent, good luck against that Rams defense.
Okay, let's talk about this, because this is like he kind of disproved his own point talking about Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid struggling to score points, because I guess he's saying because of the lack of weapons. But then he's saying that the lack of weapons, when these other weapons got dinged up for Brock Purdy, things didn't look so good. And it's like, well, yeah, if things don't look so good for Patrick Mahomes, when his team's dealing with injuries, Pacheco, Rashee Rice, etc., Hollywood Brown, and he has 11 interceptions, Brock Purdy had 12. I know, shocking, so different. Like, Also, as I had highlighted before, when you see how much more yards after catch that a Mahomes got for his bulk of his yards compared to a Brock Purdy, with a newbie could say, well, Andy Reid has done a significantly better job at helping Patrick Mahomes maximize this offense with less weapons, having him throw shorter passes and get more yards after catch, top in the league, where Brock Purdy, with Shanahan, even with the lack of weapons, is throwing farther passes and significantly less yards after catch. So it's kind of absurd. And some of these losses, like to the Rams and whatnot, not Brock Purdy's fault. Special teams, defense, Debo just dropping passes left and right. Remember that one game where they lost, like, what was it, like, it was a weird score, like 9-6 or something, and then I think they ended up scoring a field goal, so it ended up being like 12-6 or something. It was a weird game. But, like, Brock Purdy easily could have scored multiple times. Debo played awful. They also tried to force the ball to Debo, which was Shanahan. That was Shanahan, not Brock Purdy. So again, Shanahan deserves some blame. The defense was a mess. So it's just like, what are we saying here? The last 2 years. Oh, well, the difference is that the Kansas City Chiefs are able to win in this. Yeah, their defense, 17.3 points per game. They only were scoring 21.8. They only needed 18 points, which would have been good enough for them to win. So the 49ers could have kept winning also with like a lower level offense. We give a round of applause to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But why not then, let's blame the defense? Because who did the 49ers have on defense? Oh, 29th They were ranked 29th. They have 25.6 points, and they actually average more points per game. So you're saying with a banged up team, they actually scored more points than Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? So the difference was actually the defense, not the offense? That's weird. That's interesting. So don't give me this nonsense. Listen, I'm not arguing that Brock Purdy is this amazing, unstoppable, he's better than Patrick Mahomes quarterback. That's not the argument. It's not what I'm saying at all. I think I have a very realistic understanding of who Brock Purdy is. That also when you built a great team around him, he can absolutely maximize that team. But yes, is he well suited to kind of just drag a less than stellar roster and find ways to win? No. Lamar Jackson can find ways to win. Josh Allen can find, mainly because of their physicality and just their overall skill set. And like I always say, okay, great. So Brock Purdy's not as good as Josh Allen, and Josh Allen can do more. Fine. But that's like, that can't just be the only frame of reference that we have. Now, the one thing that should give you a little hesitation is that people talked about the 49ers having a stacked roster and being awesome. And in the Super Bowl, and even just in the playoffs in general, you didn't see a big elevation, even from Brock Purdy. Yes, did he have some great moments, especially against the Packers and the Lions? For sure. But when you compare that to like what Jalen Hurts did, it's different. Because you can make the argument that Brock Purdy was part of the reason why they needed to come back against the Packers and against the Lions. And when you see what Jalen Hurts did in the Super Bowl, both Super Bowls against the Chiefs, and see what Brock Purdy did in the Chiefs, he did not elevate his game. He was not the reason why they lost. I have said that a lot anytime I kind of talk back about that Super Bowl. Brock Purdy was not why they lost. But he also wasn't, if he was able to elevate his game just by an inch, just by a small margin, then they win that game. And like I've said too, like, listen, you had the muff punt, you had the fumble by McCaffrey, you had the injury to Greenlaw. Like, those were all factors, and all of those factors needed to happen for the Chiefs to win that Super Bowl. Otherwise, the score wouldn't have been what the score was. And then they could have come away with the victory. People would say, hey, Brock Purdy, Super Bowl winner. And it's true. But you still need to be in a position where since it was such a close score, you still needed to be in a position where you could have potentially overcame that. It was still there. There was still another score to get, another drive to extend, where if you step up in that moment, you win the game. So again, Brock Purdy didn't do anything to hold his team back, but didn't do anything else to elevate them in the biggest moment when it mattered most. And I'm not saying that he can't do that. I'm just saying we haven't seen him do that. Again, you could argue that he did it against the Packers and against the Lions, which is, there's some truth to that. But in a lot of ways, you didn't do it in the Super Bowl when it truly mattered most. The Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is the Super Bowl. And so that is where I can understand. But again, just because you have some of those question marks doesn't mean that you're automatically be like, yeah, he's not that good. Let's look at this versus playoff teams versus non-playoff teams. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But like, I don't know. Again, we're kind of cooking the books here. We're definitely cooking the books here. Because, look at the defense. I mean, we have the Vikings versus the 49ers, the Rams. Again, I remember some of these games are special teams issues, injuries issues. Again, like you're struggling there. That Chiefs game was definitely just ugly. Honestly, by both teams. Patrick Mahomes was awful. Patrick Mahomes had like a passer rating of like 50 something. I mean, it was awful. these are teams that now started to deal with such injuries. You know, they've given up 35 points to the Bills. A bizarre 12-6 game against the Rams. I just mean, like, this season was such a mess. They had the most injuries. They had people going in and out of the lineup. 1 minute Christian McCaffrey's playing, the next minute he's maybe never going to play again. Ayuk was on the field but was hardly doing anything, and then he gets injured. You're having backup field goal kickers, backup of a backup of a backup running back. I mean, like, this was such a mess of a season that it's just a mess, man. There's just no other way to look at it. So to try to use this as a specific indicator of anything, I just think is just not fair, and kind of absurd. And please tell me how many games Patrick Mahomes would have won this season if his defense wasn't as special as it was, or, you know, this season or last season. I mean, here's the Chiefs going up against the Ravens 2027. First game, week 1, you know, that's week 1. Lamar Jackson hardly played great that game. The Bengals, one of the worst pass interference, not the call, but just from all the defense needed to just was play regular defense. We know how bad the defense was for the Bengals. They played the Chargers 17-10. Justin Herbert could barely walk. He was having his plantar fasciitis type of issue. Then they played the Buccaneers. Took that to overtime. Another absolute egregious missed call. Against the Broncos, a fumbled snap. Patrick Mahomes hardly played great. Not a fumbled snap, a blocked field goal. You know, against the Bills, they lost to the Bills. To the Chargers, 2-point game. They won by 2. Justin Herbert had no one to throw to. Literally no wide receiver. Like, literally nothing. No wide receiver, no running back, no nothing. Okay, so it's like, and the score was 19-17. 19-17. Okay? The Texans, literally CJ Stroud throwing to no one, man. He finally has something going. Tank Dell, his knee explodes to the point where literally CJ Stroud is on the sideline crying. No Diggs, no Tank Dell, you know, whatever. Also, again, still held them to 19 points. Held the Steelers to 10 points. So again, take away some of this good fortune, as well as the defense stepping up. If the defense didn't step up, if the defense was giving up as many points as the Chiefs defense, the 49ers defense, they'd have maybe like a 3-6 record, you know, whatever it is, a 3-3, or, you know, 3-4, you know, however many playoff games they played, because they had 2 playoff teams in their division, so that's 4 games, just like that. So again, you got to tell the whole story. You got to tell the whole story. And that's what's always annoying about looking back. Because once upon a time, during the season, I remembered exactly. Oh, that was that time when the field goal kicker was down. And that, like, you know, like, and you could really put everything in perspective. I don't remember now. I don't remember exactly how that Rams game unfolded. I'm not digging around for my notes either. Which is why it's kind of helpful, actually, to kind of just look at the box score kind of quickly. And to kind of just look at, like, oh, yeah, well, the Chiefs beat a bunch of playoff teams. They held this one team to 10 points. 10 points. Yeah, kind of easy to win a game when your defense held you to 10 points. It's also a lot easier to run your offense. So yeah, do I think Brock Purdy should get a $65 million contract? No, I do not. I do not. He should be somewhere like in the 40s. I think that would be great for the 49ers. But yeah, I just don't think that we still just don't have like the actual honest full circle conversations around Brock Purdy. And it just, like, you know, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Brock Purdy and the 49ers? What kind of deal should the 49ers give Brock, if at all? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.